Oh, it's gonna. Oh, there.
You're live. Hello.
Cool. All right. Hello, and welcome to Blissful Sourcery, the show where we talk about everything weird, wacky, and wonderful, and encourage you, the viewer or listener, to question everything. I'm your host, Justin L. Shaw, and this is the other host, Anna Bliss. How are you?
Hi.
Wait, is
Hello.
that is that the best? Anna Bliss? Is that what you want to go
Anna
by?
Bliss. Yes.
Okay. Anna Bliss. Okay, cool. So Anna and I connected through Instagram a while ago and realized we have really interesting and kind of kick-ass conversations and decided we should do a podcast together because that's what this world needs more of, more podcasts. Just kidding. But there truly cannot be enough discussion, around these topics because they're kind of the most important thing humans can talk about. We're going to talk about everything from spiritual healing to out-of-body experiences to quantum physics, metaphysics, healing, and even the paranormal. But the overarching theme of this show is going to be possibility. An and I are not out to change minds, only open them, using the unbound, unified power that lives in us all, source energy. So what I have here is that, I mean, we feel we have kind of a never-ending supply of unbelievably cool content for all you people out there. And today's episode, I thought we should start by introducing ourselves and letting you know a little bit about our personal journeys, because I think it's best to get to know and create a rapport with us. Because the next episode, we're going to jump right into it, and it could honestly change the course of your life. Not even kidding. But don't jump ahead. Practice patience. Patience. And so we're going to go ahead and just jump right into it. Anna, you want to tell them a little bit about yourself? And me too. I'm sure there's stuff I'll learn.
Yes. Thank you so much, Justin, for the introduction. And thank you for reaching out to me. Honestly, I don't even remember who reached out to whom first. But I'll share my side of things is how we met is through a video that I saw you on YouTube that was sharing about your experience with the other side. And you seem so knowledgeable and personable, and I just had this like connection to your message, and I felt like connected to you. So I actually looked you up on Instagram, which I rarely do with these videos. And I'm glad that we just had like a natural, friendly like conversation. And you didn't really know what I was doing. So when we got into it, we found out we have a lot of things in common, a lot of similar ways of thinking and being and experiences, and also mission. And so that mission is to share with as many people as possible about what is possible in terms of healing, in terms of growth, in terms of spirituality, in terms of what is going on with the world outside, how to make sense of all of this, and how to just balance it out with being, a good human and what that even means. And, in today's world, there's just so much information out there about all these things. So, um, yeah, here we are sharing our message and our time and our expertise. So my expertise is quantum healing. To introduce myself, my name is Anna Bliss, and I am a quantum healer and a professional time traveler. So,
Awesome.
what this means is that I do past life regression therapy in a form known as quantum healing hypnosis. A lot of people are familiar with Dolores Cannon's work, and I do very, very similar work like her. My findings, my experiences, my regressions have been very similar to hers. And I shared this in my book. I wrote a book called Time Travelers, and I share about this. And it's um, it's just great to know that there's so many other people before me and even now we're doing very similar work and have very similar experiences with these regressions. And what these regressions have shown me in the past 15 years working as a hypnotherapist is that there's so much more out there in the world than this reality than this 3D world reality we're in, has taught us in school, via religion. We all come from different backgrounds, different cultures, different places in the world. And now that the internet has brought us all together, connecting on this like other realm, it's like almost another dimension. We're finding out that maybe we're not alone, in how we are and our experiences. And it turns out that a lot of people, a lot more people, have had supernatural experiences, have had, miraculous experiences, spiritual experiences that don't fit into the normal, like worldview or religious view. And that's been my personal journey with this. Even how I got started is I was raised a Christian. We talked about Christianity a little bit yesterday when we were getting to know each other.
More of a Christian. What were you that you were deeper into Christianity than just Christianity?
Yeah, I was very deep into Christianity. I read the Bible twice. I was baptized when I was born. I didn't really have a choice, but then I did choose a Christian religion when I was a teenager. And I always kind of seeked knowledge and truth and connection to God. And when I lost this connection, I went into the world and I was modeling and acting and kind of lost myself in that world, and became very like egocentric and self-centered and like ego driven. It was more about the facade of the world and the money, the fame, the people, who's who do you know, who are you, what are you wearing, all these things. And so while I was in that space, I had a major spiritual awakening experience. And it came as actually a very dark night of the soul. I'm not going to go into detail unless you want to know. But
I'm an open book. You can say whatever you want to.
all right, so what actually happened is I was living in Hollywood and I was not like on my highest path. And I was on my way to see Snoop Dogg and I got pulled over, got a DUI, and ended up in jail. And in that place, I woke up in essence, and there were just a lot of things happening within a short time, such as my father passing, that I lost a job, I lost a relationship. There were just so many things all at once that kind of compressed me. And it was in that moment of like the darkest night where I realized I lost my faith in God. I lost myself in the world. What is happening to me? Who am I becoming? And so in this darkest moment, it's like that pressure kind of like burst me open from the inside. And I had this spiritual awakening experience, which ultimately led me to my light. It led me on my path of the work that I'm doing now, which is healing, which is hypnotherapy, which is teaching, which is, talking to people and teaching meditation and doing sound healing. And I also produce these events with yoga, breathwork, meditation. And I feel now that I'm on my right path, but at that time I was definitely lost in the world. And so it took me, to go on this like hero's journey, like to find myself, to find my truth, my light, because I was searching outside of myself for this all this time, like all the validation, all the love, all the success, all the joy, the happiness. I was like seeking on the outside from the outside out. And I think a lot of people in the world today are lost in a similar way, is that they're seeking for these things that we're supposed to have from within out, from inside. Like you're supposed to first love yourself on the inside, and then that love overflows to the ones outside that we get to share with. And this whole world is like everything in the world is backwards, I find, right? Like everything we've been taught, that I've been through in school, that I've learned. I went to high school, I went to college, I have degree, certificate, like I really am very well educated. I graduated cum laude. I read books. I wrote a book. I consider myself an intellectual. And so I feel like a lot of people are kind of lost in that way, is seeking the external world to bring them the inner happiness. And for me, this experience that I had just really showed me that everything I was seeking from the outside world is all inside in me. And that I need to find this happiness, this joy, and the love within me. And how do I do it? So I had to reconnect. I wanted to reconnect to God, to my faith, to Jesus Christ. I mean, it sounds so Christian, but even Jesus Christ, I found this new kind of faith in, and I'm non-denominational. I'm spiritual in nature. I don't call myself anything, even though I even have like the Buddha tattooed on me.
Yes.
I'm more Buddhist in faith because I practice meditation and mindfulness, and I consider like nature my religion. If anything, is God is in everything alive, and I find God within myself, not outside of myself in a church or temple. I don't seek that anymore like that, because I've come to realize that on a deep level. So I aim with my work and my sharing about these things is to tell people and to talk to them about how to find their way back to that, whether it is they believe in Buddha or, you know, however they want to get there. There's, whichever way you take there, just get there. And to me, there is love, is whatever you call God, is source. I call God source. And that's why I connected with your message and your book title, Sorcery. And I find very similar, truths that you found on your path. And then we talked about this yesterday, right? Like, it's not about being perfect. It's not about like not sinning or not like being this like perfection, like, oh, I have it all figured out. I don't think anyone really has everything figured out or all the answers, or it's not about being holier than thou. It's not about being like a guru or a teacher, just about sharing a value in a message and sharing it from a place of, hey, I know, I've been there. When I look at people, I have compassion for their path, for what they're going through, because I've been there. I've been broken. I've been broke. I've been hurt. I've been heartbroken. I've been depressed. I've been suicidal. I've been a mess, And from there, I found my way back to wholeness and good health, and not just physically but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I found the tools that actually work to get you there. And that's ultimately what I'm here to share, is like, I'm real like everybody else. I've been through it so much, so many things, and I'm here to share that there is a way out, there's a way through it, and you have to just want it, and you have to be open to it. And I think everyone who's here tuning in is definitely on the right path. So thank you so much for being here and being here with us. And yeah, this is in a nutshell a little bit about me and my path and why I'm here. And just to begin, I think this is it's a perfect way for us to, introduce ourselves and our work and what we do and why we're here, and just get people connected to us. So so happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, that's how old were you when this whole awakening happened? How old were you?
Oh, I was 26.
Oh, okay.
No,
Well, yeah, it happened much before I did. Okay, that's cool. Yeah,
23. I'm
that's
sorry, 23. I was 23. Yeah.
okay.
It was, stuff was happening, but yeah, I was 23.
Yeah, it sounds like
Mhm.
we're both kind of gone from patient to physician a little bit, and that's kind of how it works with healing is, you're in this spot, right, where like it really sucks, and then all of a sudden you start to feel really better and you want to help others because not only helping others, it's an iron sharpens iron situation where you're helping others and bringing them up, but they're also helping you because you're cementing these things into your mind, and that's what I kind of the last rung of my sorcery book is all about. It's called Assist Leader, and that's just about finding people that are open to help, but you're not just helping them, right? You're actually helping you. This is helping us just as much as it's helping anyone watching or listening. It certainly does for me because it just cements what I've learned into my mind and makes me, a better teacher and healer and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I can get into mine a little bit. So I've had
Yeah,
quite
please
quite quite
share.
quite
Share your journey
quite the
with us.
journey. Quite the journey. And I do like to let people know because there's sympathy and empathy, and I've been through a lot of pain, a lot of hardship in my life, and it's important to know that I have sympathy for or empathy for people as opposed sympathy is just kind of listening and engaging with the pain, but empathy is feeling pain with somebody. So I have tremendous empathy for the world and for people's pain, and it's a good and bad thing, right? But
Mhm.
sometimes it's too much. Sometimes it's a little bit much to handle, and but I wouldn't have it any other way. But my kind of situation started in childhood. I had a child of divorce. My dad wasn't around a lot. They divorced when I was in middle school, but even when he was around, I grew up in a household of just an emotion vacuum of a household. I always like to say it's like Fight Club. I'm going to reference pop culture all the time because I grew up in front of a television set. I was the cable kid. So, it was like Fight Club. It's like, the first rule is you don't talk about your feelings. And the second rule is you do not talk about your feelings because it made, when someone is very uncomfortable with their own pain, they can't engaged in someone else's pain. And that was my mother. My mother was so uncomfortable with her pain that she just couldn't engage in any sort of vulnerable talk with me, like guiding, even things like guiding me and what do you want to do with your life, things
Mhm.
good and bad emotions. It didn't matter, like warning me about drugs or sex. These are just things that just weren't discussed because they were too vulnerable for her.
Too real.
So
Too
yeah,
real.
yeah, it's and so that that's gonna screw someone when you don't tell a child, and love is not a word that was mentioned in my household. There wasn't a lot of hugging. And that's just my mom, and there's nothing. I don't blame her. She was a great mom, otherwise, but she had her issues. And that's okay because that's what she grew up in, and I'm not mad at her. I love her very much. She's passed on now. I do miss her, but that's just when that happens and you don't tell a child that they're loved, valued, or important, they look for the world for those things. And the
Yeah.
world is always going to tell them they're unloved, unimportant, and unvalued. And that is
Right.
exactly what happened with me. And so that led to teens and 20s of debauchery and just a life of a dumpster fire. I mean, I spent nights in jails, rehabs, halfway houses, on park benches even. I'd get kicked out of halfway houses and just have to be homeless for a week. So, that's a part of my story. And my 20s were really, really difficult. And like I just couldn't figure it out. And it wasn't until I finally went to rehab, the second time. The first time it didn't work at all. I just left. But the second time was like, okay, and this is the end of my 20s now. It's like I got to get serious, otherwise I'm going to end up most certainly going to end up dead or in jail forever or institutionalized, and that's where I was going. So I decided to get together, and in this moment, I had this kind of realization. These people kind of encircled me, and I kind of was like, "What's this Jesus thing? What's this about?" This was a faith-based rehab center, so we had Bible studies, and I was just like, "What is this about?" I kind of grew up passively going to Sunday school, but I didn't really care about it because my parents, of course, that was too vulnerable to talk about God, so they didn't talk about that. So I just once I had a say, I just said I'm done with that. So I didn't have any knowledge of it. And it was just like, well, gather together and we're gonna pray to Jesus. So I was like, okay.
Mm.
So they did, and that was my first spiritual awakening. That was my first. There's a second one coming, and it's much more powerful. But at that time, it was like, oh, okay, I feel better. There's something here. There's something to this. So tell me what more I can do. And now I realize this is kind of a dangerous time for people because once people have these spiritual awakenings, anyone who's helped them to that now has control over that person. So, this is cults will tell you, that was me that did that. The leader will say that was all me. So now you got to follow what I say and do what I say if you want more of that. Religion will tell
Mhm.
you, well, it's this religion and it's this dogma. You have to follow this dogma. There's rules and you have to follow them if you want that feeling again. And I spent 10 years in the Christian church and never found that feeling again. And my anxiety was much worse. I was sober. I kind of did AA and Christianity, which go well together because AA is kind of disguised Christianity. But that kept me sober because and I guess, and at that time, that's what was most important. But I had no guidance in life. I had no idea what I was doing. I still was lost, just completely lost. I just was like, I felt like I was found, and now I feel lost again. And what I found out about Christianity is, it's this big, beautiful mansion, right? It's this amazing mansion, and you're in the mansion. You're like, ah, this is great. This is amazing. But there's a lot of control in Christianity. So they'll say, you can leave the mansion at any time, but there's zombies out there. So you don't want to go too far out of the mansion because there's nuclear waste out there. It's that you're gonna die, and the zombies will get you. So exploring other religions outside of Christianity is seen as taboo and not good, and you're going to hell and all this garbage, right? And then I found out as my mother was pronounced terminal, and she during this time, this programming that was put into me, that because she wasn't a practicing Christian, well, she's going to hell. So this whole year of her body falling apart and her mind falling apart was extremely difficult and very traumatizing. But what made it 10 times more traumatizing was this whole notion of eternal damnation, which is, I found out that this mansion, not only are you not allowed to go outside of the mansion, but it's also built on a cracked foundation of fear and judgment. And that mansion will start to crumble when something like this happens. And that's what happened for me. The Christianity mansion started to crumble around me and forced me to go outside the mansion and find other ways because of how bad the guilt and shame of Christianity put into me, and this insanity that my mother was eternally damned. Like, screw you. Like, that's crazy talk to me now. And like, I would have been much a different person. Now I would have been like, Mom, it's like taking off a tight shoe. You're gonna be out of pain. It's gonna be wonderful. But I wasn't like that. I was like terrified.
Mhm.
So
Right.
that's when I started questioning things. I started doing stuff that I write about the book, which I'll get into it, is the shadow work and meditation, and started, looking into more Buddhism and all these other things that you're not supposed to do. So I just started leaving the mansion and not going back to it. And in these moments, I had this awakening moment that was the most powerful and amazing thing that's ever happened to me. It happened in the end. Like I said, I was doing all this, like questioning my beliefs, especially Christianity and my, beliefs as a child, all these things that I found out I weren't true. But I started doing these things, and just one day I had a bliss attack. I mean, that's the best way I can explain it.
I love
This
it.
was this was a 3 hour. Yeah, that's why I loved your name. This was a 3 hour
Yes, you
bliss
get it.
attack. And so I mean, what is a bliss attack? Well, it's like a panic attack if you replace panic with love. And for 3 hours, I felt, and this was drug free. None of this, like, I was on psychedelic, nothing. I was completely drug free for several weeks at that point, and it just came out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, so I'm for 3 hours, I'm feeling these waves of love and waves of bliss, while at the same time, like, I'm getting downloads like of truths about things, and like about the illusionary nature of reality, and all the, how religion is, it separating, and it's really not what it's cracked up to be. And it's not a good thing because it's separating people as opposed to, uniting, and all these things. And I knew them as truth because of how I was feeling in the moment. And in that moment, I realized, we're all in airplane mode. This is We're all in airplane mode, and we don't know it. At some point in childhood, every child is off airplane mode. All the, a phone perpetually in airplane mode is not living up to its potential. And so, all children are out of airplane mode. They have all this amazing stuff going on. But sometime, as we get older, we're now programmed to, like, the airplane mode comes on and the limiting beliefs come in and all this stuff, and airplane mode is turned on. And I realized in that moment that now it's off. And that's become my mission now, is to get people off airplane mode. Because once you turn it off and have just one of these experiences, you can never turn it back on again. And so, and at that moment, I knew things were different and changing. And that's when kind of, I still went through a lot of things. When my mother dying, I had a sister pass, I had a close childhood friend pass. I was attacked in the face by an Alaskan Malamute dog at a drug dealer's house. It almost ripped out my eye and like ripped out, there's still a big scar, like my face was hanging off. And like all this stuff was still happening. um, that all these traumas were still happening, and but finally at the end, and I had an instance with a fiance who has her own issues, and she just decided to take off and take our infant son and just move across the country. I can't. She just cut me out of the life. Like just so this was the final trauma. That's like I still haven't talked to him or seen him in 2.5 years. So, it's this is there's I've been through a lot of loss and I understand grief. It's not to say woe's me at all. It's just like I understand pain and I know what people are going through. So, but it's those moments that made me realize I kind of moved up to Sedona, right? And that's the mecca for healing. I just felt called to move up there for a year, and I just sat on Bell Rock, which is a famous vortex, and I just said, I things are really not going so well in my life right now, and I really need guidance, and I need focus, and I need to know why these things are happening to me. And a month later, I was on a hike in the same area, and just boom, like that's when the vision came for the book. And so that's what I'm out to do. The book is out. It's called Sorcery 101, and this podcast is called Blissful Sourcery because it's a little bit of both of us. A little bit for
Yeah,
every, a little bit of, we got a little bit for everybody. That's where we
balance,
come up with. There's a definite yin and
masculine,
yang
feminine,
between the
yin,
two of
yang.
us. Yeah. Nope.
Yeah.
But the sorcery is spelled with a U, and it is, there's no cauldrons or Eye of Newt for this sorcery. You can leave your magic wands in the closet for the next Harry Potter convention. It's not that kind of sorcery. It's spelled with a U. We're using source energy, which is the energy that surrounds us at all time to heal and thrive and create new lives. And I created the system of 13 rungs. So, like remember 12 steps in AA, moving forward is good, but moving up is better, right? Because a bird has a better perspective on things than a worm. So, this whole system came to me, and like that's going to be the basis of everything. And so the book is still very new, and this is all new, and I'm just living life by the seat of my pants right now, which is a lot of fun. And just seeing what happens, right? Like I'm just throwing myself out there and putting myself on podcasts, and all of a sudden one day you show up and we're just like you reached out. You followed me, and then I reached out to you because she makes these amazing like graphics and reels, and like they're just absolutely mind-blowing and mesmerizing, and I was just getting lost in them. And I think I the first thing I reached out to you is like I commented on one of them, and I said something like, this is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, you're super talented. And that's where it started. So it's very fun to see where this will go. I think we have plenty of stuff to talk about, and I think the next one's going to be
So
super
much
interesting.
to talk about. We have
Super
so much to talk
interesting.
about. Like yesterday, I mean, speaking of speaking, we ended up having a 2.5 hour conversation, and time just went by like this. Like
That
I
real.
I couldn't even believe it. And we were talking about time, how it's not real, right? Like it's not really real. It's a construct made agreed by us here in this 3D realm, but it gets even more tricky and confusing and fun and liberating and just weird. The more you go out of time, the more like me, I'm a professional time traveler, but time makes even less sense, just it goes so fast sometimes and then it slows down. And I'm still learning to time bend more efficiently. I'm working on that one. But yeah, I think today was a really good way of introducing ourselves. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Justin. I'm so blown away by how much we have in common, and your stories and what you've been through and how you found yourself. Um, you know, back in your heart and your truth, and how you're keeping it real, and how your spirituality is not tied to some perfectionist ideal, unattainable ideal, but something that you found in yourself, and that you're here to share with people in a very attainable and fun and funny way. And so, yeah, keeping it light, keeping it funny, and so many amazing topics. I am super excited to get into all these topics. I don't even know which one to start with. I mean, we have time travel, source, higher self connection, ETs, paranormal experiences.
I think we should
Yes.
start the next one with intuition versus instinct, because I think that's one of the
Ooh,
most important things. Like the next episode um, can truly alter the course of your life, like it did me. We will get into how to get in touch with your intuition and compare it to the instinct. They're very different things. People using them interchangeably, but they're very different. And once you get in touch with your higher self and your intuition, that source energy that is outside this whole simulation we live in, it's about becoming a player character because we have too many non-player NPCs out there, right? Like, so
Mhm.
this is about altering. We'd all like to make the right decision and the right choice when it comes in, and no one really knows how to do that. So that's that little tidbit of information and intuition training is what I call it in the book is going to be. I think that should be the next one because it's pretty critical and something that is life changing. It changed my life, so I hope it changes other people's lives. It should be taught when we're in kindergarten to trust that inner voice and like to help that guy and not question it, because then we hear this inner voice and we know something and then we question it and monkey mind, and then it's like we make the opposite decision. And it's like, that's what this is about, is to try to get out of the mind and get into the heart, because that's where that's all the good information. The mind and yeah, the heart is where you want all your information coming from, and that's going to lead you to the best, safest possible way. So I think that's an exciting next episode for sure.
Yeah, let's do it. Can't wait.
For
Yeah,
sure.
so many amazing topics to discuss. And also, I want to make sure that everyone knows that we're here committed to not just talking about it, but being about it and sharing actual tools that are powerful and effective in helping you transmute energy, heal your body, your mind, your spirit. Because talk therapy is important. I do that as part of my hypnotherapy work. You got to talk it out, communication, verbalizing feelings. It's important. But then afterwards, what do you do? How do you implement the change? You got to actually do something, create a change in your behavior pattern, right? And heal and release, like feel it to heal it. So we are committed to sharing with you guys actual tools that work in creating the desired healing state, the blissful state, the abundance, the joy, the good health. So um, that's what's also coming. And we'll do our best to keep it lighthearted, right? We talked about that too, is a lot of spiritual teachers out there, they're very like serious, and this whole world is very serious and very intense and painful, and sad. There's things, like every time I turn on the news, like I just want to cry. I feel like this instant like feeling of like sadness and overwhelm, and that's why I don't watch the news usually. But
Okay.
to be in a real state of spirituality, I think is very important to keep it light, to lighten it up, and to not necessarily make fun of things. And that's not what it's about, is to make fun of anybody or anything, but to transmute the energy with lightheartedness, because perspective is everything, right? It's how you look at it, right? Like there's people that look at the same situation in different ways, and to some people it's a good thing that's happening, and some people they see it like, oh, woe was me or something, it's awful, right? So perspective really changes your outlook and your experience in the end of the thing that's happening or what you're feeling on the inside. But when you keep it light, that actually is a way to transmute energy. And maybe I'll share just okay, I'd love to
Yeah.
share my favorite technique since we're talking about sharing something that's useful. So on my path, right, to find spirituality and find God and find, this connection to this higher self or whatever you call this, the supernatural, I went through so much. I put myself through so many different healing modalities, and I taught myself. I went to school and I learned a lot of different tools, right? Like meditation, breath work, yoga, sun gazing, tapping, EFT, like all these things, like prayers, mantras, chants, you name it, I've done it. And they all work. And I think when you put in the intention and the time and the effort, you can have beautiful results. Um, my favorite transformation tool that I found on my path, and it's something that's so simple. And I find spirituality in the simplicity, in the light. Like light is easy. It's simple, right? Like it's just like a breath, like it just one breath, just like that. It's just a breath by breath. Like when you meditate and you get into that sweet spot where you're not thinking, it's just like peace and quiet right up there. And then you feel it in your body. So, one of my favorite ways to transmute energy is basically this. It's an ancient Egyptian technique known as the feather, as the white feather. Um, I don't know if it actually has an official name. I just call it the white feather, the Anubis white feather. So the Egyptians, if you guys are familiar, the Egyptians were really into esoterics and chakras and ascension and supernatural things and other dimensions and tantra and psychedelics and aliens probably because the pyramids, right? Um, but and all their gods, like look at their gods, and their belief systems. So I spent a lot of years analyzing and learning about the Egyptian culture and ancient cultures generally. So, what I found from all my findings is about the Egyptian culture that really stood out to me. And it's partly because I work with the underworld. When I do past life regressions, I go into death, I go into the other side. I go into, reincarnation. Like I take people through actual death ceremony, like rituals, like dying to yourself and being reborn. So that realm really fascinates me. It always has. And the Egyptian god Anubis, if you guys are familiar, Anubis, which even my name, Anubis, it's kind of encoded, I think. And I love dogs also. So, anyways, this is the Egyptian dog god called Anubis. Is this like black jackal? And he's there with a scale in his hand when you die. And this is what the Egyptians believed, that when you die, when you pass to the other side, you're going to be met with Anubis and he's going to weigh your heart against a feather. It could be different color feather, but I always see it as white. I don't know, because white is light, right? So let's stick with the white feather. So he's going to weigh your heart against a white feather. If your heart is heavier than the feather, then you're going to have to come back again and be reincarnated by being eaten by Maat, which is a crocodile goddess of reincarnation. So then you have to come back into this realm until you learn to lighten up your heart, to release resentment, to me, what that means is being joyful, not holding on to things from the past, not holding on to grudges, to resentment, to old things that happened to us, to traumas. And that's the essence of healing, of all of it. You're doing this to clear yourself, to make yourself feel better, right? Everything we do all day long is so we feel better. That's why people do drugs. That's why they smoke. That's why they drink. That's why they go out partying. That's why they do all of it, is to make yourself feel better about yourself, about life, right? So when you know how to do it in an internal way, And you actually start to do it by lightening up your heart, by forgiving, by not holding on to old things, by just being lighthearted, open-hearted. That means being open-hearted. That means being loving to yourself and to others, non-judgmental. Don't hold on to things that happened in the past. Let it go and clear yourself of that and be present and just be in this like think of like a light feather. So that's my tip for today for healing tip is it helps if you actually have a white feather. I don't have it right here right now, but I highly recommend, if it helps, and it is helpful, just to grab a feather, any white feathers. And if you guys are also familiar, you know, when you find white feathers on the floor, usually is a sign that your angel is near you and they're sending you a message from the other side. So let this be the message from this side, from me to you guys, that use the white feather and remember to keep it light, keep yourself light, forgive often, laugh a lot, be in a state of joy, of bliss, because that's what you need to feel good, to feel happy, to raise your vibration. And that's what the world needs right now the most, is us being high vibe, not mindlessly, but mindfully, but presently, but really joyfully from the heart inside out and radiate that out. That's what the world needs. So keep it
That's
light
right.
as a feather.
I bet at some point this week or in the next couple of days, I bet I run across a feather. I bet that happens
Oh
because
yeah.
you put it out there. So
Look out for the white feather. I'm telling
yeah.
you. It's
Oh no, I'll be on the
miraculous.
lookout. I'll be on the lookout for sure. Well, that was wonderful for sure. But yeah, I guess that's enough for this episode. And you know, we'll catch you on the flip side, and we'll keep digging, keep digging. Remember, question everything. That's the theme of the show. Question everything. Okay, bye.
Bye. Satnam.
Aho.
Namaste. Aloha.
All of it.
All the things.
All the things. That was great.
Okay. Here. Mhm.
How long was that? We did pretty good.